Good evening, Des Moines and the world. Welcome to the Doc and Lefty program here from the downtown studios of webcast1live.com. I am Lefty. As always, we are bringing you the perspectives you love from the sides you hate. I'm going to move that tag. I'm going to change that to something else. I just haven't put my mind to it. But with me, as always, ready to just grab a fork and dig in is my main man, Dr. Pat Petroche. We are in the same room. We're in the same state. We're probably not on the same page. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, it's going all right. Now, did you have any gigs this weekend?
I got gigs all this month, man.
Really?
Yeah,
right.
I had one last week. I've got one tomorrow, Friday. I've got two next week. It's crazy.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds real good. Heard you've been working out.
You know what? It's not so much working out as it is making an effort.
It's making an effort. So at least you're huffing.
I am, and I'll tell you, man. Yesterday, if you guys have now, I have gained a lot of weight and lost a lot of weight in my life, and I'm in that
A solid 3 or 4 people so far.
Probably actually.
Yes, not quite 4.
No, I would
more than 3.
I would say all said and done, probably an overweight third grader. You know, but that's. I mean, if you've ever had given a piggyback ride to an overweight third grader, that's a pretty big burden to haul around. But no, so I've been doing that, and I'm in that initial stage where yesterday, you know, I lifted and I ran 2 miles, and on the treadmill, which is always easier, folks. You know that. I mean, if you run on the street, it's always harder. And I did it without too bad. I was able to get through it pretty easily. Today I went and I lifted and I ran same thing. And oh boy, I was dogging it by the end. I was so, but that next day is always, you know, it's always a little bit tougher, and then the third day is a little easier, and just so I'm anxious to get back in that routine.
All right. Well, I decided I was going to take advantage of the weather last night. I took my puppies out for a walk.
Yeah.
Made it a solid 2 blocks, so I'm happy with that.
Absolutely.
Of course, you know, I tied the dogs to the bumper and drove, but, you know, I drove real slow, you know. So,
I feel like you've missed the point of the exercise.
Well, they're getting fat. You know what they say about fat dogs is your owner doesn't walk enough. So, you know, I walked out to the car. I walked back, you know.
I get it. We took the dogs for a walk yesterday, too. And
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you believe this weather? It's finally getting decent.
Well, what I really appreciate was, I mean, I don't mind the rain in April, right? And I don't mind it being in the 40s when it's raining in the springtime. It's not my favorite, but it's, you know, you kind of, you're what Vonnegut said was you're unlocking. There's no such thing as 4 seasons. Most who have like 6. You know, because you have the winter, then you have unlocking in the summer and locking, and where everything's kind of like, so we're opening up. But boy, it is nice when they put 3 to 4 days in a row.
Oh yeah, really
for us.
Well, you know, I planted my garden on Sunday, and I was really excited about that. And I thought I'd harden them enough, but my cucumbers and beans have fallen to the sun. And
already?
Yes. I mean, they're all curled up. They look just.
Oh,
like
did you do the pods inside and do seedlings inside?
Yeah. But the oregano's doing well. The jasmine and sage is doing well. So, you know, but it's sunny out there. Hence, I didn't wear a suit. I see you're not in a suit. Plus, we were supposed to have Ed. Ed's not anywhere to be found.
And which is odd because he tweeted out that he was going to be here, and I guess, well, you know what happens with a legendary walker.
He becomes a legend?
No, sometimes he gets stuck in traffic.
Is that it?
Yeah,
because I was thinking he was riding his bike down here since we pay for all the bike lanes, but apparently he's walking, and, you know, the poor guy, he's walked 500,000 miles in the last year. Mm-hmm. So you'd think he'd be better at it than he is. I'm just saying.
Well, you know. Well, I guess we can have that out when he gets here, because I guess he's going to be here in a couple minutes.
Well, let's hope, you know. We were going to talk about Hillary this segment, so but we decided to wait a little bit. We have did you see our new Hillary picture that we have when we talk? Because she's going to be running for that's our new Hillary picture there.
That's pretty funny.
So when we're going to talk, I was looking forward to looking at that mug for at least a solid 20 minutes, you know. But we have a lot of bad things going on, one of which is Baltimore.
That's true.
it's one of these things. We're going to talk a lot about it. There's a lot of misinformation, obviously, out on the internet. And last night I was watching a lot of TV shows, trying to figure out what was good and what was bad, and who had the information. And there's some things being said by the mayor that at first I couldn't believe. I thought nobody in their right mind would say that. And trust me, I am a guy who has gotten himself in trouble with his big mouth. All right. So I'm sitting there thinking there's no way. So we're going to be talking about that. We're gonna Ed has rolled into the studio, if you can tell. And so we're going to have him sit in here in a little bit. You want to sneak past me and have a seat? Yeah, because I've lost weight. You can sneak right on by. There you go. Oh, great camera work. Yay, that's from Maddie.
It's fantastic. I can't. Yeah. We sure are glad to have Mr. Fallon in the studio. I gotta say, it must be pretty. Oh, I don't know what kind of homecoming you would call it. Maybe a stupendous one without equal. In the history of homecomings, this is the best homecoming that anyone has ever had.
Oh, yeah,
ever.
absolutely.
That is absolutely the most ridiculous exaggeration I ever heard, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hold on. If you're going to come back into the studio, what group of apes would be better to come back to than me and you?
I can't think of anybody more able and more apt.
More ape-like.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Now we're not throwing Maddie into this group here because she's fantastic.
Well, that's the highlight of the whole trip. It's got to be to see Maddie again.
So, but that says producers too.
She produces as I describe her now, Maddie Plus.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But you can't get enough Mad Dog. That's for sure.
No,
that's for sure. So you got done walking. What, another 500,000 miles or something like that across Iowa?
This was 400 miles across Iowa for a very different purpose. This was to follow the path of the proposed pipeline.
Yep.
And to meet with farmers and landowners along the way, and to hear what their concerns were, to share my concerns too. But a lot of it was to listen, to gather information, to share that information. Because the truth is, people in one part of the state don't often know that the other part of the state even exists. I met in Lyon County. I met with about 20 people. I don't know if any of them had heard of Lee County.
Yeah.
But in Lee and Lyon, they're dealing with the same issue. And even in Buena Vista County, which is only 3 counties removed from Lyon, there's a great organization working in Storm Lake and a great group of people working in Lyon County.
Now,
none of them like this, and they didn't know about each other.
It is my understanding, Mr. Fallon, that that the path that you walked through Iowa, the proposed Keystone Pipeline, is 100% through unspoiled, unpopulated wilderness that will have absolutely no environmental impact whatsoever. And so,
I'm not sure either unspoiled or wilderness would describe Iowa farmland.
Right. Well, and that's exactly right.
It's pretty developed when you think about tiling systems.
98% or something. That. We don't have any real wilderness.
Well, it's 100% through rural Iowa.
Yeah.
They skirt the edge of a few towns and hamlets, but yeah, they don't. They intentionally go through mostly unincorporated land.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right,
pretty much entirely.
All right. Well, we're gonna cut this segment just about 30 seconds short. I want to thank all of our sponsors: Bertrosian Associates, Labinas Law Firm, Halo Capital, Des Moines Interest Rates, Des Moines Anesthesia PC at 515-574-6442. Don't forget to hit us up on docandlefty.com and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be back right after this break.
Associates, how can I help you?
Bertrosian Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around through that first, what I like to call mental throat clearing segment of the show. We have with us special guest and first-time guest to Doc and Lefty, Ed Fallon, although we followed in his shadow for an awfully long time here at Webcast 1 Live, so we're certainly glad to have him back. And he just finished up walking the proposed route for the Keystone Pipeline. The Bakken pipeline, Bakken oil sands pipeline, all through Iowa, meeting with the folks, so to speak. And so we were talking a little bit about that in the last segment. But Ed, I mean, I got you. You had some success doing across the Great March for Climate Change across the state, or across the country, I should say, and now doing this across Iowa. I mean, were you getting some feedback? Were you getting into some people's heads about what's going on with this issue?
Well, the Great March for Climate Action was an entirely different creature. It was 3,000 miles across the country, and the focus was on raising awareness. This walk was entirely different. I call it a walk. First of all, I wasn't out pushing. I was by myself. I was trying to take my time so I could talk with farmers and landowners. Instead of doing 15, 20 miles a day, I was doing about 10 miles a day. And it gave me time to meet with people and to blog about it as well. And again, the focus here was not so much to raise awareness, it was to collect information and to connect people who had similar concerns. And at the core of it's to stop a bad idea. This pipeline is a bad idea for a number of reasons, and one which Pat and I strongly agree on is government should not have the right to come in and take your property, your private property, so that some other entity, in this case, a pipeline company, can get rich. That doesn't make sense. It's not right. It's not the role of government, and it's not fair to the landowners.
And one of the things, and this impacts people here locally. If you don't think this issue is not a local issue, when Jordan Creek went up, this is exactly the issue that was raised. Can you take
Linda Roble?
Yeah, absolutely. Can the state take money, or not money, but land from people and give it to a private company? I mean, is that what the eminent domain is all about? Right?
Well, it's not. I mean, that's what it can amount to, I guess, practically. But you don't gift it to the entity. It's the people. There's supposed to be fair compensation for the original owner, paid out because it's a due process issue. And sometimes, I mean, we can debate what fair compensation is, but that's what's supposed to happen. And I would hope that governments would be fairly responsible. But I mean, I certainly, you're not going to get disagreement from me about the practice of eminent domain. I think that there have been instances where it made sense, but overall, as a policy, it's just it sure seems inconsistent with our values, I would say.
Yeah,
and I would agree. Go ahead, Ed.
Well, and in terms of compensation, nothing can compensate a landowner if he or she does not want to sell their land.
That's absolutely right.
And one of the things that came out today in the subcommittee meeting, there was this is unusual, a joint House-Senate subcommittee meeting on Senate Study Bill 1276. This is a bill that begins to address the eminent domain authority that the Utilities Board might grant to both the pipeline company and the Rock Island Clean Line, the folks that want to build the transmission line for wind energy from Northwest Iowa to Chicago. And this, what came out in that committee, again, largely through testimony by landowners, I testified as well. There were some lobbyists on both sides who also spoke. But what came out really clearly was the pipeline company has acted inappropriately. They have strong-armed people. They have provided misinformation. They have been extremely aggressive. And I think in a large sense, people are very unaccustomed to that kind of strong-arming. And I talked to one woman in Calhoun County who told me that a woman she knows who is in a nursing home, her land is in the path of the pipeline. The pipeline representatives went to the nursing home and tried to get her to sign, and they were so out of line. I don't have all the details, but apparently they were out of line enough that the nursing home officials had to throw them out. You know, I mean, this is just one example. I can give you example after example. I talked to a woman in Boone County. She had to be, in her 70s, maybe close to 80. And she just went on and on about how much she did not like the pipeline, how she was concerned about the environment and whatnot. And then after about 10 minutes of that, she told me, but I signed an easement. I said, well, why? Because she felt she didn't have a choice. Because the way the pipeline company presents this, it's you better sign with us now or you won't get much of a deal at all when we come in and condemn your land. And they don't even have authority to do that yet.
Right.
Now, one of the questions I've had is how much are these people being compensated? Is it fair market value that are being compensated, or are they given more than their land value?
They are all over the board. People are getting, again, the pipeline representatives they start the conversation with $6,000 an acre, and sometimes they go up as high as 10 or 15 or 20, and a couple cases I know they've gone to 30 and 35. There seems to be no no standard figure that they settle on.
So basically, they're saying whatever the price we have to pay for this land.
Well,
not
not entirely, because that does not seem to be a consistent approach. There's not the sense that, okay, this is the fair value that we're going to offer people, and we're going to stick with that across the board. No, it looks like they're trying to negotiate as low a deal as they can from their point of view with as many people as possible, while conceding in some cases that they have to pay out more. So, and again, I don't know what all their reasoning is behind the scenes, but it's troubling, and it's troubling to people that they feel like they're being isolated. And again, some of the pipeline representatives are, aggressive to the nth degree. There was one farmer, an older guy, 61.
But they're salesmen. That's what salesmen do.
Apparently they are. One of the guys they hired was a former used car salesman in Des Moines.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding. Well,
Yeah.
you know how aggressive those guys can be.
I know. Is that really what you want when you're trying to deal with a person who is vulnerable? There's one woman, her son-in-law testified at the committee today. Her husband passed away a few months ago, and now she's dealing with all this pressure, people coming to her door with briefcases, just appearing on her land. Surveyors have just showed up on people's land without them even knowing they would be there. There was one guy in Keokuk County, he threw him off. And he said, and they said, well, we'll be back the next day, and we don't want a confrontation. He says, okay, I'll make sure there's no confrontation. I'll have the sheriff with me. So he gets the county sheriff there. And the pipeline representatives show up, 4 of them in a car, and the county sheriff's there and the landowner's there. And the county sheriff says, look, you don't have the right to be there. Right, get out. He threw them out. And so that's where that one stands. But, most people aren't don't have that much gumption where they can be that bold and that direct and then think to bring the sheriff in. A lot of people are just getting run over by these pipeline representatives.
Well, now, obviously my role here tonight is to play devil's advocate. So
you don't have to. You could just agree.
Well, the truth of the matter is, and this is the truth. Usually Ed and I disagree on stuff. Usually. There's a lot of things we agree on, but there's a lot of things we disagree on. And I figured this is just another, climate change goon march. That's what I thought. Honest. And I started reading this stuff. All of a sudden I started thinking, oh my God, Ed might be right. And let me tell you, I felt sick to my stomach and had to go to the doctor for a couple of days.
You're the doctor. What do you mean?
Yeah, but it was so bad I couldn't handle myself.
I had to drive him. He was delirious.
Oh, yes, delirious.
Foaming at the mouth?
I kept saying, Ed is right. Ed is right. And he kept saying, you'll get over it, buddy. You'll get over it.
I went to just as a sign of respect. I went over to your house and turned your microwave on.
Okay,
yeah, think how I felt, Pat.
Oh, yeah.
Pat is right. Pat is right. Pat is right.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, but in all seriousness, I started thinking, because my opinion is that piping oil is usually safer than transporting it by rail or by truck in general, mostly. And so I was thinking, well, I don't have a problem with it. But Ed really has opened my eyes. These people really are using strong arm tactics. And if you're the Koch brothers, that's the kind of sales force you want. That's what these people are. They're in business. They want to haul oil. They need to get this land so they can build this.
And this isn't Koch brothers. This is Kelsey Warren and Energy Transfer Partners. But
all I ever heard about was Koch brothers and the pipeline. Koch brothers. So anyway, I got it mixed up. Well, I should have let you correct me.
That's okay. Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you're in the business of energy, those are the kind of salesmen you want. You want hard-nosed people getting the information. Now, having grown up in the country, and you grew up in the country, tiling is expensive.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it oftentimes is very necessary to help the land remain fertile. And I think that if you have...
It can be. It's also really terrible. it can't. I mean, depending on the circumstances.
Well, yeah, but if you do it properly, it can help. I mean, if you just do it
it
willy-nilly,
contributes to
right.
erosion and water
It
loss,
can.
and I mean, that's
yeah,
what I'm
it can.
saying. It just
All right.
it's not.
So, well, on that note, we're going to be back with Ed, and I got another question for him after we get back. We're with Ed Fallon, local luminary. He just got done on a 400-mile walk across Iowa to expose the Bakken Sands oil pipeline and the dirty shenanigans. It's not Keystone. It's who'd you say?
The Energy Transfer Partners.
The Energy Transfer Partners. We'll be back right after this break. We want to thank Ed for showing up.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. We have Ed Fallon with us, who has just been dominating folks that want to listen to what did you used to call it? The remedy to poisonous talk radio, or I can't remember the thing at this point, but
I can't remember either.
yeah, it's like well, I used to.
He can't remember his own show's tagline.
I've been gone for 6 weeks. Cut me some slack. No, 8 weeks.
No,
8 weeks.
I listened to the old show religiously, and I think it was a reasonable conversation.
The fusion of politics and civility.
Something
There
like
you
that.
go.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it was in the crossroad, the culinary cultural crossroads of America.
That
here
would be
in
Des Moines,
Iowa.
Yeah.
But no. So Ed, you're doing this walk, and I just before I let Doc get his question, I had a question about the temperature, because it felt like part of this was, and I was reading the email that you sent out in the blog posts and stuff, that you're taking the temperature of some of the folks who would be directly affected by this pipeline going through. I mean, were you getting sort of universal resistance, or were there folks that said, "Hey, look, this is going to really help us out"? What was the and how engaged were they?
People are all over the board. There's certainly those who are okay with the pipeline coming through. There are some who simply like the money. Mm-hmm. There are some who bought the argument that we need to get it off trains. Although I think that argument is false, because there's not going to be any less oil traveling on trains than there is now. This will just increase capacity and ship it through pipes. And there's also the myth that this is going to improve domestic production. Well, why is it going to a refinery in Texas, in one of the biggest ports in the U.S.? You know.
Yeah.
But there are people who bought those arguments, and I wasn't there to debate them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would be happy to. And I mean, I had one very respectful conversation with a farmer in Webster County. He was out driving around his land, picking up rocks in his gator, and he just invited me to sit in his cart for a while, and we had a good talk. But we disagreed. I moved on. But most people, I would say, there's a bunch of categories. There's those who just like it and they're fine with it. They've took their money and they're settled. Yep. There are those who took the money and feel really, really bad about it and felt like they had no option. And then there are a lot of people who they just haven't made up their mind yet. And then there's a whole bunch of people, at least 25, 30%, maybe more, who absolutely do not want the pipeline coming through their property for a whole range of issues.
Mm-hmm. Did you get the sense? Now, I'm sure that you didn't have the time or the necessarily the capacity to talk to folks other than those folks who were in the counties where the pipeline was going to go through. But I mean, it's not everywhere. First of all, how many counties did you hit?
Well, I actually hit I think I went through 19 counties. Okay. Because I missed Sac, but I added 2 just getting around corners.
Did you get a sense that the folks that aren't going to be directly affected by this are as plugged in, as engaged? Or, I mean, is this something that that the people who care about, or is this like a NIMBY situation? As long as it's not in my backyard, I don't.
Well,
have a problem.
it really depends. You've got people who subscribe to that. They say, well, I might care, but it isn't going to my land, and there's that. But I think more people. That's a minority view, but it's out there. But there are more people who do care, even if it's not going through their land. Either because it's a question of just caring for the land itself, or it's also a question of thinking about broader impacts. This pipeline is going to cross an awful lot of watersheds.
Yep.
And what it does, the pipeline is 4 to 8 feet underground. It's hard to know exactly how far under, depends where. But when it goes under a stream, it's going to dip. It's going to dip, and it's going to come back up again. And when it dips, it's got a joint. It's got a and you think about where are the weak points on your body.
Yep.
Joints, elbows, knees. A joint is a weak spot on a pipeline as well. And if you've got a corrosive material going through there, and actually the Koch brothers owned pipeline here in Iowa, the one owned by the Koch brothers, is not running because it has corroded. And so when that begins to happen, where is it most likely to happen? Well, probably at those joints. At least that was the analysis of a guy I met who has done tiling all his adult life in Cherokee County. And he raised some good points. And so, in that case, it affects everybody. So if you are a landowner even 100 miles downstream from one of these crossings, you could be affected. So I think there are people all over the state who care. But, the landowners, they're in the crosshairs. They're the ones who are getting all the pressure. Yes, they also have the potential to get an immediate cash benefit. But the question is, no matter what they get, is it going to be enough to compensate them for ongoing crop loss because of the effects of the pipeline and the heat coming out of that pipe, the potential for what happens if there's a spill, for the ongoing headaches involved with having somebody else own a chunk of your land, essentially? And I think a lot of people are just thinking it's not worth the money. No matter what they pay me, it's not worth it.
All right. Now, one of the things that has always been an issue here in Iowa is family farms versus corporate farms. And I know you're a strong local, buy local kind of guy, a long time supporter of family farms. I just want to know how many corporate farms you came across, and do you know how many of these corporate farms where the land has been sold for an easement there?
Well, again, I corporate might be the wrong word. There are a lot of small family farms that have incorporated.
But I'm talking about large.
But in terms of size, I would say size was not a factor in terms of the people I met. There were farmers, at least one with 4,000 acres of land that he farmed. Yeah. There was a guy who was the lone dairy farmer in his county. There was an organic farmer. There were people who had smaller scale operations. There were people who had hogs. A lot of people who have pattern tiling are very concerned because of the disruptive nature of the pipeline as it diagonally crosses their fields and hits, tiling every 50 feet. Tiling that is angled at a very, very, it's very, very slight grade.
Yeah.
One field I saw, it was a quarter mile across. It drained at 2 inches. That's how delicate that tiling operation has to be. So there were farmers of all sizes, all stripes.
Yeah. So now I might have misunderstood you, but I thought that you had said that you don't think that piping it is going to be safer than other transports. So my question is if there's a way we could reduce reliance on train transportation and highway transportation and doing it by pipe, which statistically is safer, wouldn't that be a better way to go?
Well, it's a question of whose ox is being gored. If you're in a town and an oil train blows up and you're one of 47 people killed in a little Quebec community, it sucks to be you. But
because we don't need as many Quebecians as we have.
Oh man,
that's not what I meant at all.
That's for my friend Jason.
That's an emerging market for us. Hey, Quebec, we love you.
Yeah. Well, but on the other hand, if you're the North Dakota wheat farmer who happens to go out into his field one day and sinks into the ground because oil has seeped in 40 feet deep and the pipeline company failed to catch it. And in the end, he has oil contaminating 7 football fields, the size equivalent of 7 football fields. A year and a half later, they originally estimated that would cost $4 million to clean up. It's now over $20 million. They got at least another year to go. This happened in September of 2013. Yeah, in that case, it sucks to be you. So whether it's a pipeline or an oil train that spills or blows up, it's never a good situation. Never a good situation. And it's really a question, I'd say, of whose ox is being gored.
All right, now we have to take another break.
Well, if you want, we could take the break at 7:05. We'll keep Ed until he has to split.
All right.
If I think that would
Okay.
be all right, because I wanted to talk to you. And I didn't hear you necessarily. I mean, I think that the safety is kind of a coin flip, or it sounds like, but also you suggested that, hey, we're not moving from one form to another. We're keeping all of our rail at the same time that we're adding pipelines, so we're just increasing capacity, which is going to increase the likelihood for spills or accidents or whatever.
The other thing to know about this is not about the Bakken Oil Reserve in North Dakota. This is not about American oil. This is about Canadian tar sands oil. Eventually, they will be tapping into that. The idea is to get this as close to the Canadian border as possible, and then to avoid all the controversy over running Keystone across the U.S.-Canadian border through Nebraska, they'll be just a hop, skip, and a jump away. And when the Bakken Oil Reserve runs dry, they'll tap into the tar sands oil, and that region is the size of New York State. It's huge. And they're trying to find other ways of increasing the flow of that as well. Right now, there's an effort to increase the flow through Minnesota through the Enbridge pipeline. They want to up that to over 700,000 barrels a day. So it's a question of rapidly and drastically increasing capacity.
Well, the one issue I had with the Keystone pipeline, and the issue I have here as well, is even though we're going to be getting jobs, temporary jobs, constructing this,
temporary,
and we're going to have some people in Texas getting refinery jobs, almost all this oil, if not all of it, is slated for different markets. It's not slated for us.
It's hard to prove that, but it's very likely. It's very likely.
I'm quoting National Geographic when they were talking about the Bakken sands, because the Chinese have signed a 10-year agreement with the Canadian government to ship so many millions of barrels of oil to them over a 10-year period. So, I mean, that's where this, at least the tar sands, that's where that goes. And, when I ran for Congress, I was the Green Republican, which nobody really understood.
You ran for Congress?
Yes.
What a silly thing to do.
It was
what
a silly
man
thing to do.
you
I'm
are.
telling you what.
My gosh. Who'd you run against?
Boswell.
Oh, that's a really dumb idea. I can't believe you did that.
It was, that's my first foray. But the bottom line is if we're going to be producing oil and transporting oil, it needs to stay here in America to drop our oil prices.
Yeah, and then
that's because the truth of the matter is, unless you've been into a foreign country that burns oil, you don't understand exactly how clean technology we have here.
Well, but then you flip into the other argument that leaves me very strongly against this pipeline, is that we cannot continue to increase our oil capacity. The more oil we pump, the more we transport, the more we refine, the more we're going to burn, and that's going to keep putting carbon in the atmosphere. And what scientists are telling us is pretty darn clear. We can't continue to do that.
Well, you and I are going to have to disagree.
All right, I knew we'd get to disagreement.
Here's what the problem with climate scientists is, in a nutshell. The predictions they make rarely come true, right? That's what happens. And you can say, everybody says, 90% of scientists, I can
97.
tell you 97%.
And
I
growing,
can tell you,
just like the carbon in
if
the
you
atmosphere.
actually read what that study is about, they phrase it in such a way that you're guaranteed to have to answer it that way. It's like saying, geez, how much does the light of fame cause Ed's hair to fall out? Well, it's a possibility, but I don't know.
It's more like my grandfather on my mother's side. I want to blame him.
Well, yeah, you can, and that's probably the reason. Yeah. But still, you have to consider that the lights of fame could do this, and that's how they phrase the question.
But no, it's Doc. One day, just like you had this moment of revelation when I was out doing my pipeline walk, you said, "My gosh, Ed is right."
Yeah,
you're going to say
not
that
right about this, though.
No, but you'll say, yeah, I don't really care. I don't care if you say I'm right. Eventually, the overwhelming evidence is going to be there. I mean, when I was walking across the country last year, I was meeting with people who were affected by the drought in the Southwest, who were affected by some other dramatic weather events. I met a firefighter And he had a big group of firefighters working under him. And he says, you can't find a firefighter on the front lines in Colorado who doesn't understand climate change. All that's connected to it. So, I wish we can get beyond it. Let me ask you, you're a doctor, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm sick and I come to you and you give me an opinion I don't like, I get a second opinion, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a third?
Sure.
How many opinions do you need from a scientist to say that, hey, climate change has happened? Do you need 98?
Well, and actually, I'm prepared for that question because the answer is we have 3,000 years of medical texts, and the human body hasn't changed that much. We're basically the same human we were back in Hippocrates' day. And the information that we have about climate change that's accurate is at best 50 years old. So you're working with a database that really isn't complete, not like it is with the body.
Well, Lefty, that's like
the other thing is there's multiple causes to climate change. I've already said this before. It's like looking at dirt, going, how do we make dirt? Great, we can make plants grow out of it, but we can't ever make it because it's just so complicated. That's the problem with climate change. You can't just point at one thing and point at another thing. So, and unfortunately, we're up on 5 minutes. Usually I would give you the last word. But,
we could.
But you're the host. You have to have the last word.
But you said you're the one. We already kept you longer than we're supposed to. Do you just want to finish out the segment, or
no?
what?
It's good. I gotta get running.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Ed, for coming in. So if you're on again, I'll give you the last word. I promise. Thanks for Ed Fallon doing a walk. You can say a lot about Ed because I do, but this guy is committed. And he believes,
ought to be committed.
And I will tell you, it's a refreshing change to talk to somebody who honestly believes instead of just telling the tagline. We'll be back right after this break.
Bertroche and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertrocheandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertroche and Associates.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking around here. Thank you to Ed Fallon for the first half hour. We certainly do appreciate the time. We know he's a busy guy, and it also and partly because it takes him so long to get everywhere. But we need more of him, right, Pat?
Drive more, Ed.
We need more Ed Fallons in the world because it would make the world
a funnier place.
I think the
I would
conscience.
just have to the problem would be if we had more Eds, I would just have to let my truck run longer and longer.
Yeah, and eventually you'd bankrupt yourself by buying all the gas or the diesel, I guess.
Yeah, it is diesel, but I have a pretty fuel efficient truck. It gets a solid 6 miles a gallon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Speaking of the next segment, how's that for a segue?
Yes, that's good.
I am not just
speaking of things that are on fire.
I am just. Oh man, that was.
That was awful.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Well,
we got another death, another protest, another violent couple of days. I don't know, man. I mean, the problem. I'm gonna do something. I think about this because there aren't a whole lot of new angles to take, right? I mean, how many times can we tell the story of an African American man being injured or being killed in police custody, and then all the camps kind of go to their respective sides and start sniping at each other, and it leads to a set of peaceful protests, and then violence erupts for a time, and the cops come in, and there's clashes and everything else. How many times can we tell that story without just the utter tragedy, cynicism, and horrifying nature of it completely erase people's empathy at this point. I just don't. The social media aspect of it is where I'm coming from.
Absolutely, and we're going to get back to that right after the break. That was a short segment because we went long last time. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back right after the break. We're going to continue our analysis of Baltimore, what went wrong, what has actually gone right, and obviously the media coverage. We'll be back right after this break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the last couple of segments here. And I think that what Doc wanted to do is cue up a video of the mayor of Baltimore giving a little speech or giving some reaction to the protests and some of the rioting that's been going on there. And so, Maddie, if you've got that queued up and ready to go, we'll play that and talk about it here after on the other side.
We also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well. And we worked very hard to keep that balance and to put ourselves in the best position to de-escalate. And that's what you saw.
Well, what do you think?
I came back with me. I'm sitting there relaxing.
I'd be interested.
Thanks,
I'd be interested to understand the context of that speech, I guess, but and what question she was referring to.
Yeah. Well, now it was about a 20-minute press conference, and I've watched the whole thing, and for the most part, it's a mayor saying, "Well, this is what we did. We know what's going to happen. My police force killed a man while in custody." Basically, he fractured his spine, and it mostly severed his spinal cord, at least a partial tear. And, in order to have something like that happen, there has to be a ton of trauma, right? So something happened. And so she's explaining the whole thing, and it sounds reasonable. She gets asked the question, and that's her response. And then she moves on to the other questions. And the thing is people now have a tendency to focus on it. And having said things, in the heat of the moment, without really thinking through, you have to stop and go, The problem is, and this all hit the internet and everything else. So yesterday I'm watching coverage. I have MSNBC and CNN and Fox. So I'm flipping around. They're all covering the riots yesterday. The problem is when they ask her, well, did you say this? Did you say that we gave space to those that want to destroy? No, that's a ridiculous thing to say. I would never have said that. Well, that's untrue. That's blatantly untrue because there it is right there on video. And I stop and I think to myself, because I couldn't believe she would actually say that. So the problem is, you now have a black mayor and a black police chief running this city, and they're still having riots. And so why, is this just what's going on? I mean, obviously there's still police brutality, right? Mm-hmm. I don't care. And social media is covering exactly how much of a bad man this Freddie Gray is. I don't care what he did.
Completely irrelevant.
It is. It's completely irrelevant. Now, if he's out, and I'm going to get back to the raping babies thing. Yeah, you can understand it. But the bottom line is, this guy basically is a pot dealer. Every once in a while, he get in a fight. That's basically what his rap sheet says.
Mm-hmm.
Petty crimes that in another state wouldn't have mattered. And here in Pennsylvania, they don't have a marijuana law. And this guy is now dead.
Maryland.
In Maryland. I misspoke. I'm sorry.
Well, I was reading some of the reports, and it's just like, I mean, I'll tell you this, folks. If you're watching this, I mean, we are not privy to all kinds of different information when these sorts of things happen, and I can tell you from my own personal experience representing the clients that I do that, and as this is as it should be, I know more about a particular event, a particular crime that's been alleged against a person than the media can find out and that people can know about, because there are things that aren't shared, and it's not like it's confidential. It's just there's not the ease of access is more difficult for people of the public. And you have to go through formal requests and things that I'm entitled to as an attorney. And I can tell you for sure that the news reports coming out about what happened to lead to Mr. Gray's arrest are hazy, and probably there's not going to be a whole lot of clarity. But this is what we know, at least what we suspect that we know. This guy was what the police have come out and said that he was in a high crime neighborhood. And that when police went to conduct, I guess, not even a stop of him, or just walking up to see what was going on, he took off running in the other direction. And they pursued him, and they tackled him, and or maybe not tackled him, but they apprehended him and found a knife in his pocket and arrested him. His family has come out and said that it was just a pocket knife. He was legal to have it, but who knows what and also what the charge would have been, because now the guy's dead, deceased. It just, those charges sort of go out the window, and it's hard to keep track of all that stuff. I had a client who died on me while I represented him, and obviously the charges were dismissed, but it was, the record then becomes a little bit fuzzier for folks coming in from the outside. So this how it goes down, and right off the bat, people are saying, well, they shouldn't have. Why? He was what was he charged for? Running while black. Well,
if you run from the cops, they arrest you. But it doesn't matter if you're white, black, or Asian.
Here's the problem with that. Because the attorney for the police union came out right away and said there's been a Supreme Court case that says that the cops can do this. Well, that's true. I didn't look up the site, so Brother Joe, forgive me on that one. I don't have it with me, but it is in fact accurate. There's a Supreme Court case out that says that running from that if you're in a high crime neighborhood where officers are patrolling, and if they approach you and you run away from them, you have now given them reasonable suspicion. But you've given them reasonable suspicion to conduct what's called a Terry pat-down, which is a brief detention and pat-down to look for weapons. Now, contraband can be a part of that, but to look for weapons to preserve officer safety, where they engage with you. What sounds like happened here is that they chased him down and arrested him. But no one can articulate, even the police, and this is what has got people so upset. The police cannot articulate what their probable cause. You do not have probable cause to arrest somebody just because they run away from you.
But then when they do the pat down, they find the knife.
But that's if it was legal for him to have, and that's what we don't know for sure. If it was legal for him to have, then he shouldn't have been arrested for anything.
And that goes to my next point. They could have made this go away by saying, in the midst of transporting him, he fell over a railing, right? Or, while in the back seat of the car, he flailed around, and when we got him out, he fell out of the car and injured himself. There's a whole range of things they could do to explain. But all the mayor has done and all the police chief has done is simply say it was justified. Well, what was justified?
No one knows.
Arresting him? And that's the point. So now you have all kinds of speculation on social media.
Well, but here's the thing about what happens with these incidents. It doesn't, and this is where race isn't necessarily part of it. It's an institutional thing. The police circle the wagons, they say they're doing an investigation, but in these, especially in the climate that we're in now, these sorts of things, I don't think you compromise an investigation by putting a little sunshine on it, by saying, here we go. Okay, we have a procedure in place to deal with this sort of thing happening. Because I can tell you, and you'll agree with me on this, there is never, ever a reason good enough for a person who is restrained and in police custody under arrest to die. Unless, like maybe a heart condition, like some sudden medical thing. But what they are talking about, his physical injuries, there's never a justification. These people are under the care of the state at that point. And it doesn't matter if he's a bad guy or not. That's the worst people. We don't want prisoners dying in police custody.
Well, and I agree 100%. We're going to be back right after this break. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Bertrosha and Associates, Lubinas Law Firm, and Halo Capital at Des Moines Interest Rates. Des Moines Anesthesia PC at 515-574-6442. They are great anesthesiologists. They do a lot of pain management, so give them a call if you're struggling with your pain. Check us out at docandlefty.com. I'm almost positive I can get a ghost blogger to write from a gay perspective on some of the issues we're facing.
Oh.
Almost. I think that would be interesting.
Oh.
Also, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be back right after this break.
Bertrosha and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertrosha, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertroshandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertrosha and Associates.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around this last segment. I guess there's tension, and if and this is going to sound pretty dumb, but if you ever watched The Wire, you'll know that the mayor of Baltimore and the governor of Maryland typically do not get along. Yes. The mayor of Baltimore, they in that television show, which has been sort of lauded for its not necessarily its perfect realism, but it's more realistic than a lot of things that were on TV at that time. But the mayor of Baltimore is almost always a Democrat, and the governor of Maryland is almost always a Republican. Although this governor isn't. Isn't O'Malley the governor of Maryland?
Yes,
and he's a Democrat too.
I think so.
Yeah. So there you go. But there's tension between the mayor and the governor. And what do you think about that? It just, that seems like that's politics, and that seems pretty easily explainable to me.
Yeah, here she is. The problem is there's been several missteps that she's taken that any person in that spot would take, because on the one hand, you can't overreact, right? Mm-hmm. You can't call out the National Guards before there's a riot, because then everybody goes, man, you're nuts. But at the same time, the response that she had, there was social media knowledge that this was going to happen. And these riots started with young kids, right? High school kids, kids just out of high school, all getting together on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. They all said, we're going to meet here, and then we're going to just go nuts. The Crips and the Bloods, using the same Twitter and Facebook accounts, go out there and say, we're going to meet, we're going to try to take out cops. So what you have is the initial attack on the police and a non-response from the mayor. And then you have her apparently issuing an order that says, well, I told everybody we're just going to kind of back off, and if you need to bust stuff up, go bust it up. That's what that really sounds like. And then things go berserk. People setting things on fire, police officers under heavy assault. And of course, the police officers don't behave that well. They're throwing rocks back at these kids. Honest to goodness, if you've been dealing with that for 10 hours, your frustration starts to build. And then they're forced back. But the confrontation became so violent, they were forced back. Everything's on fire, right? And then the mayor calls the National Guard, or the governor, and he's going to issue the National Guard. And her statement is well, the National Guard didn't respond fast enough, trying to blame the mayor, right? So the bottom line is, mayor comes out with, trying to blame the governor. Governor comes out with a statement from 30 seconds from the time I got that call to the time the National Guard was mobilized and on its way was 30 seconds. So again, we get back to, is this incompetence from another city mayor who happens to be a DNC chairperson of some kind? Or is this just what happens when mobs go out of control, and you can coordinate with social media quite a bit, So do you think that the response? I mean, should they have gone out and done more with these social media acknowledgments?
I don't know what anybody could particularly do, because it doesn't seem like there's any good option. You saw what happened in Ferguson. That didn't work. You saw what happened with some of the demonstrations in New York City. That didn't work. You saw what happened in Baltimore. That hasn't worked. So, a riot by its very nature is uncontrollable and unpredictable.
All right. Now,
so, but I do want to stress, because some of the coverage has been that these are, that the entire city is on fire, and it's not true. These are
there's
small,
a large swath of the city. The blocks and blocks.
Compared to the overwhelming peaceful nature of the protests that started. This isn't this. It's not a it's not engulfing the entire community, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and neither did Ferguson. Ferguson didn't engulf the entire.
They were small pockets too. But that's all anybody wants to talk about are these riots.
Yes, and the thing is, so let's end this show on a positive note. First, we have to make a correction. Both my friend Jason and one of our Facebook friends, Janice, said that the governor of Maryland is a Republican. His name is Hogan.
Oh, what happened? So who was?
It was the first Republican in a long, long time. So it changed in November.
Oh, is Martin O'Malley the former governor? Okay,
yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
Thanks a lot. See, we do have listeners.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we have this argument every day after the show. Are you sure it's just not Jason and Joe that listen? I'm positive. We have more to listen.
We do appreciate you and want you to keep listening. So it's not that we don't love you. We just wish that more people were like you.
Well, you know what? We really off the subject. We'll talk about after.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I see this video of this guy standing out in front of this shop talking to a bunch of guys in balaclavas, and that's those hoodies that these people are wearing, and made famous by the Russians in their incursion into Crimea, and. So he's standing outside, and he's a black guy, and he's standing outside, and there's two other black guys with him and a white guy, all standing there peaceful, keeping this store safe. It's absolutely amazing. You have this one mom who's after her son. I'm sure you've seen the video.
Yep.
Going, what are you doing protesting? I wish I had better audio on that, because that's really, that's what you should be doing. You should be getting out there going, hold on. I don't believe in this. You shouldn't believe in this, and you're going to get home. That's what the problem is. Because this riot really did start with young agitators. So it's too tough, and maybe sometime we'll have a couple of our really smart friends come on the show and talk about this. But there is a nexus between the legitimate concerns of the community over police treatment of people in custody, and the legitimate concerns from police in general about dangerous neighborhoods or authority in general and how to be able to exercise it. That there is a complete and total communication breakdown between those two halves of a civil society in a lot of these communities that is fueled in part by race, it's fueled in part by socioeconomic status, and it's fueled, frankly, in part by opportunists that see a way to either make a buck or to take a buck. And I don't know that I'm smart enough to navigate those waters. I don't know that this show has the space and time to have that conversation, but I think we should probably give it a shot because it's super important, and we all need to think about it and talk about it, because what I'm seeing from the democracy that is social media and the internet now, we got a lot of junk out there to sift through. Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of race baiters that make $1 million doing this stuff, Al Sharpton says he's going to show up to Baltimore. I haven't heard of anybody else. Jesse Jackson, I haven't heard anything about him showing up. Just Al Sharpton at this point. Our prayers go out to the people of Baltimore. I'll include Lefty in that, even though he truly doesn't pray very much. I do not. So, but his well wishes go to everybody down there. Well, we're going to finish up the show. Where are you going to be this weekend?
Oh, well, I'm going to be at Blue Moon tomorrow night, so you should come and see that. Blue Moon, the Wednesday nights Blue Moon have started off a little thin, but week by week, we're building that those folks like to come out on a Wednesday and take a break during the middle of the week. But the show to see, if you want to come out and see a guy play harmonica and acoustic guitar, is going to be at the Flying Moose on this Friday, May 1st, up in Clive, just a few blocks away from your place. Because I haven't played there in forever, and I'm glad to be back, and happy to see a lot of folks that I have not seen or hung out with in a while.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.
Love these guys. Get over here. Get over here. Love both of them.